I'm Scott Al Miller. It's the 30th of December, 2022. This is my vlog of daily life as a world traveler. I'm still here in Friendswood, Texas, and today is Friday. We're heading into New Year's Eve tomorrow night. That is the end of the year, and we are ready to kick off our second full year of crazy nonstop full vlogging here on the channel, and we will be back in Nicaragua for the start of the new year. We will be here in Houston for the ball drop. We'll get up early in the morning on Sunday, which is in 2 days, and head to Costa Rica and then on to Nicaragua. My voice is a little bit different today. Feeling a little bit under the weather. Pretty sure I have bronchitis, and that brings us to today's topic, which is American healthcare. And some people ask me about things that are shocking when you come back. What culture shock things do you get when you come back to America? And of course, we talk about healthcare all the time. So it's not like we're coming back and going, oh, I forgot it was bad. Of course we know it was bad, right? And of course we know how good it is in Nicaragua. So it's not that. It's, as I come back, a couple things really hit me. One is, in America, people sit around talking about their healthcare problems all the time. As we were picked up at the airport, it was stories of corrupt healthcare and how it was threatening the lives and careers of family members because a nurse practitioner who was given outrageous amounts of power was violating what would have been her Hippocratic oath if she was a doctor, and because she's not, she's allowed to just do really dangerous things and put people at pretty significant risk and represent one of the healthcare systems here. And just like that was the kickoff to getting here. Just how much corruption and lack of professionalism and lack of ethics and how terrible the Texas healthcare systems are, that's just the topic, right? There's nothing else to talk about. It's such an overwhelming amount of life between how expensive things are, how dangerous things are, how much you can't get care when you need it, how bad the doctors are. That's just the continuous topic of conversation about everything, right? And that's something that you really forget when you move abroad. The only topic of conversation that comes up is if you're an expat. People are like, is it really as bad in America as we think? And you're like, it's so much worse. You can't explain how bad the healthcare is. But that's it. It's like just this, oh no, it's bad there, it's great here. And that's kind of the end of the conversation. People don't sit around in other countries. I've lived in lots of places. I've visited lots more. Nobody sits around talking about healthcare the way that Americans do. It's just not an important topic of conversation. I sneezed there. And that's really telling, I think. That's the thing that's a big cultural difference, is that in the rest of the world, people don't worry about it, because pretty much anywhere in the developed world, you just go see a doctor when you need it. You go get a prescription when you need it. You deal with the things you need, and it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal in effort in trying to get it. You don't have to cajole someone into giving you health care. You don't have to pull strings or have connections to get health care. That's a common thing here too. Every time someone manages to get good health care or adequate healthcare, it's always that they were mistreated and pulled a favor with a connection, which really highlights just how much healthcare is kept for those who are wealthy and connected. So primarily somewhat wealthy white people, right? If you're a minority, if you're a first generation immigrant here in the United States, and especially in the South, things like access to healthcare are actually kept at arm's length from you. And it's through this I know a guy system, right? Oh, no doctor will write you a prescription. Don't worry. I've got a doctor that trusts me. I'll call him, and it's an old family friend. He has connections with the healthcare system you're in, and he'll get them to do the right thing. You're not asking for a favor. You're asking for someone to simply take down the corrupt barricades holding back the healthcare that they're supposed to be giving you. That's serious corruption. And of course, in the US, we use expressions like, oh, healthcare is a privilege, not a right. You don't have a right to the things that your taxes pay for. You don't have a right to the utilities of the government. Those are privileges, and in reality, they're primarily white privileges. Not entirely, right? Lots of rich people in every category have access to healthcare. It is not a hard line, but it really makes it a class system. Those who are in the upper classes, middle class and up, generally have some amount of connections or enough money to get past the barricades and are able to come up with ways to get healthcare. And those who are poor often lack those connections. They don't run in the right circles. People don't want to do them favors, whatever. And it actually withholds healthcare and uses that, right, as a means of making it. If you have connections, you just call someone, they'll make sure things get done. If you need life-saving healthcare, assuming you can get it, most of the time you can, it's going to be, if you're more affluent, it's going to be really easy. If you're poor, it's going to be lots of time going to many doctors and really pushing hard and really advocating for yourself and doing all this work just to be allowed to get the healthcare you were supposed to get up front. And then after all that happens, then you deal with the billing issues. Those who are rich and have lawyers are not going to get scammed very often. Those who do not are just going to get fake billing that they can't fight, and they're going to be stuck paying outrageous amounts of money for healthcare they may not have even received, and is not their bill to pay, but they have no power to fight it. And hospitals and doctors have an essentially unlimited ability to bill you, even people who've never been their customers, which is something almost everyone I know has had as a story. So all these things, the billing, the access to healthcare, the mechanism, it's just a constant topic of conversation, and you forget that when you live abroad. And it's so nice to live in a place where you don't have to talk about healthcare. It's just not interesting, right? Maybe, do you have a good foot doctor? Oh yeah, I know a guy. Okay, great. I'll call him instead of a random person. Those kinds of topics come up, but in general, it's all just a non-issue. There's nothing to discuss. It's like, does the pulperia in the corner have good cheese? You don't care. It's just your local pulperia. You just go there. I'm gonna turn the camera a bit. I never walk over here in this neighborhood in Friendswood, and this is such a beautiful spot. As I just walk by, I wanted to share it with you guys. Since I'm just wandering through the neighborhood, I did get, as I trip, I have brand new shoes on this trip. As we always do when we're in the States, I get new shoes because as I walk doing the show for you guys, I wear out shoes very, very quickly. I go through a couple pair a year. My foot is still in quite a bit of pain, but it is improving, and these new shoes feel pretty darn good on it. These are brand new Skechers, and so I'm in the process of wearing in new shoes, getting them ready to go back with us. The ones that I wore here are just going to be thrown out. Not even going to keep them. They're in such bad shape, and but every time I go for a walk, even if it's here in Texas, at least someone on the channel makes a comment of, Scott, it's so much better when you do the show and you're walking around. And I'm like, I like that better too. I'm trying to do it and my foot is getting better. So I'm gonna be making a big effort to try to do more walking on the show. And let's face it, this is much better for me. It's a chance to get out and do some walking. So all of that about healthcare comes up because right now while I'm walking, I have my phone in my pocket, which I don't normally do. And the reason I have it in my pocket is that I need to get some amoxicillin. Like, that's all, no big deal. I know what I have, I know what's wrong. It's just simple bronchitis, and honestly, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm almost like, I don't even want to take it. But I was feeling really crappy this morning. So I reached out. It's like, do I go to urgent care? Well, it's $80 just to show up, and you don't know if they'll see you. They won't charge you if they don't see you. You don't know if they'll give you the medication. They don't know, you just don't know how it's going to work out. And you have to drive there and you have to wait, or you have to schedule online, but we don't have a thing to do that. And so so it's like, okay, well, we have this app on the phone for our health insurance, and you're supposed to be able to get an online consultation, and maybe for something like this where I just need an antibiotic and I really know my health and I really know what I have, they may just give it to me. Okay, great. So I started that process at like 9:45 this morning. It is now about 1:30 in the afternoon. The app says it's a 20-minute process. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. No one has called me back. I gave it about an hour, realized that the app had malfunctioned, but it didn't tell me. There's no indication. I just figured out that had to be what happened. So I went through the process again. The second time the app behaved completely differently, and it's like, okay, clearly it didn't work the first time, but you have to know how apps work. You have to know how it failed. You have to know all these things to be able to figure that out, which is not okay as a healthcare thing. I do like my healthcare provider in this case, but the app thing drives me crazy. And so then I filled it out again, did the thing, it asked me all the right questions. Now there's a log that says I put in a request, but it's still, when you put in the request, it says this will be 20 minutes. Then once the request goes in, it says, well, it's gonna be 30 to 60 minutes. And now it's been a few hours and it's just not happening, right? But I feel better. So I guess it did its job. It made me wait, not deal with my healthcare and just ignore it, which is what I wanted to do anyway. And everyone always pushes me to get medication. So problem solved, I guess. I don't know. But all of that is, so my entire morning, I've been scheduling everything around dealing with this. And all of it is just to get a call to find out if they will help me. I don't even know if they'll help me. Right? So it's really frustrating that so much effort and potential money goes into the first steps of finding out, will I get some healthcare out of this? And the answer is probably. If they eventually got back to me, yeah, in theory, they will give me what I need. Then I will have to travel to a pharmacy. Then I'll have to spend a bit of money, not a ton, but a bit, to get whatever it is. And if I was in Nicaragua, all of this would have been a walk directly across the street. I know what medication I need, tell the pharmacist, and for a couple dollars, 5 to 10, this all would have been done in 5 minutes. I would have known for sure that I was going to get the medication that I should have, the one that works for me, the one that we have tested, the one we know works, that we know I'm not going to have a reaction to. It would be deterministic. It wouldn't be a maybe it's going to work. It's not going to be a maybe I'm going to get it. It's not going to be a maybe someone will call me back. And it wouldn't be 10 minutes. It wouldn't be 20 minutes. It would be 5 minutes. And it wouldn't be I need to go somewhere else, maybe this other place. It isn't I have to know somebody. I don't have to have connections. None of that. It would be a few dollars and a few minutes and definitely fixed. We are currently at no money spent, luckily, and hours wasted. I have rescheduled meetings. I've not gone on trips. I've done all these things, and I've not been recording the show, which I'm behind on, all so that I could wait for this phone call that never came. That is the story of American healthcare. That is what it is like here, and so different in Nicaragua. We forget that little things like this. And while I was dealing with all this, right, and none of this is major, right? This is just me having a sniffle. Well, no, I have a really bad throat thing. It's bronchitis. But all of this is this completely trivial need. When the urgent care, the last time I went to urgent care, they told me I was having a heart attack and sent me to a hospital that was closed, didn't give me an ambulance, would have killed me had it really been a heart attack. Eventually we got to a hospital who was furious at how unprofessional the urgent care was, but then was like, it's not a heart attack, you've got an esophageal spasm, this is not a big deal. But that was the last time I dealt with an urgent care. The last time I dealt with the app was, I looked back, and this was 3 years ago. So there were messages on my app that are like asking for feedback on that interaction. So I'm like, oh, so I went back and gave some feedback. And honestly, my insurance provider and my doctors, all of them were fantastic. And they're like, oh, it worked out. I'm like, no, not at all. I was 100% denied all healthcare. You guys tried, though. This was a thing that highlighted the Texas corruption. They have created a monopoly for a specific type of healthcare here in Texas. It is illegal to try to work around it. You're not allowed to go to another state for it. You're not allowed to buy the products you need somewhere else. There's like all these things you're not allowed to do. It's supposed to be a competitive market, but all of the suppliers that they gave you, all of them are out of business except for one. The one who remains is not required to provide the healthcare that your doctors request. It's a store, it's not a medical professional that you're dealing with. It's purely a salesman, and he's allowed to not charge whatever he wants for the healthcare, but he's allowed to make any medical requirements he wants on it. And so they make outrageously dangerous, unprofessional, and completely uncovered by healthcare, by insurance, medical requirements, so that not only does your insurance company have to pay them for the healthcare that the doctors have prescribed, but you must also then pay out of pocket for a whole bunch of very dangerous procedures that are not at all authorized by any medical professional. And so therefore not covered by insurance. So you have to pay out of pocket for that to get access to the stuff that your insurance is supposed to pay for. So because Texas allows a monopoly, a non-medical professional to make medical demands, which even a medical professional should not be allowed to do, and is allowed to tie healthcare to other things, they've made a system where they can charge anything they want, put you at any risk, and deny you at any time. And so the result was I was simply denied for healthcare, and the insurance provider could not believe it. My doctors could not believe it, which is weird because they deal with this every day. This is just how their lives are. But they always act surprised. But everyone I know has the same stories. And so I just had to report. I'm like, you guys did a great job. The doctors did a great job. And the state of Texas is so ridiculously corrupt that even basic healthcare was completely denied to me. But I lived, whatever. And that's where we are. But all of that is what my morning has been. And people ask me, like, what is your culture shock coming back to the United States? And that, I think, is the biggest thing. It's also all the talk of so many people have COVID, so many people have influenza, all that stuff. We don't have any of that in Nicaragua. I'm not saying we have none. I'm saying no one talks about it because nobody's infected. It's just a non-thing. The whole pandemic is over and gone, right? It's a far memory for us. It's like, oh yeah, that was a thing a year ago. It's so long gone. We forget that it's an issue. Here, it's everywhere. Everyone's worried about it. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone knows someone who has it right now. It's crazy. And so, yeah, the culture shock here, it's the healthcare. It's the health situation, everything. People are sick in droves in Nicaragua. I don't know anyone who's sick. And it's everything. Every single person we have seen in the last 2 weeks has been sick, right? And in Nicaragua, nobody's sick. I don't see anyone who's sick. And I deal with so many more people. It's crazy. And I know the weather's colder up here, so that drives a lot of it. We just had a blizzard, that drives a lot of it. It's the Christmas season, that drives a lot of it. But a lot of it was before those things. And it's just, it is such a different world. Everyone is sick. No one can get health care. Everything's expensive. And it's the constant topic of conversation. I can't wait to get back to a country where they just keep you healthy and stop talking about it. It is not a cause for conversation. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. Put your comments down below. Get down there, start a conversation. We've had a huge boost in our views and everything on the channel recently. So thanks to everyone who's been joining us. Lots of new people, like tons. And I hope this topic was interesting. Get your input down there. What do you want to know more about? You want to know more things about Nicaragua, our culture shock, healthcare adventures, places you should consider for healthcare. Nicaragua's fine, but certainly not stellar. But compared to the US, of course it's stellar. But one of the constant fears that people have is, how do I deal with healthcare if I leave the United States? The real question should be, how do you deal with your healthcare if you don't leave the United States? If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee or a hot cocoa, as the case may be. Follow the link down below, buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. We'll put it on the screen. We'll put a link down below. That comes directly to me, makes a huge difference for the show. And as always, share on social media, tell your friends. Think about moving to Nicaragua or someplace warm, beautiful, different. Get out there, have an adventure, do some travel, see the world. It's easier once you get out there, once you put your foot outside the door and realize how accessible the world is. There's a lot of adventure awaiting you, whether it's just a couple weeks somewhere sitting on a beach or a whole new life living abroad. Ask your comments below. Get in on the conversation. Make your own videos. I want to see. I will see all of you tomorrow.